Hey yo, and hello again to Halo 2 Rebalance. There are many different things that contributed to making Halo such a successful series. Its vast sandbox, sprawling encounters, and keyly today, its diverse cast of interesting characters to shoot at and shoot with. Halo's AI, since the very first installment, have played a key role in building fun and interesting gameplay loops thanks to their wide variety of personalities, designs, and roles on the battlefield, calling on the player to react differently and adjust their tactics depending on the enemy composition they're faced with. Whether friend or foe, each actor functions as one piece of a broader puzzle that are combined, mixed, and matched to create all of a mission's encounters, ensuring every new section offers a unique 30 seconds of fun. Halo 1 started the series off strong with its core selection of Covenant enemies, in the Grunt, Jackal, Elite, and the Hunter. So given this mod's mission statement of refining and expanding upon Halo 2's potential, how do we even begin to approach making tweaks and additions to this core cast of characters? Basically, in 3 steps. 1. Look back to the first game to see if there were any strengths to its AI roster that were lost in translation coming to Halo 2. 2. Identify what Halo 2's AI does well and where any untapped potential lies, expanding upon those elements. And 3. Tap into future games in the series, looking for any innovations or bits of polish that we can retroactively carry back into Halo 2. With all that laid out, let's begin our exploration of Halo 2's cast of characters, fleshing them out and making some crazy additions along the way. And while we're at it, make sure to like the video, subscribe, and head over to my Patreon to keep this project going strong. Halo 1 had a particularly high level of detail when it came to its Covenant characters that went unmatched for much of the series' life. The Grunts, Jackals, and Elites all had secondary, alternate sets of armor that would appear randomly, adding a splash of diversity among each member of the same species. But come Halo 2 onward, this extra bit of detail would be dropped, and every actor would sport the exact same getup of armor. It wouldn't be until Halo Reach where the Covenant would once again see diversification to their armor designs. So H2R team member Mynameislol took up the task of restoring that lost bit of detail from Halo 1, adapting those secondary armor designs back to the Covey characters of Halo 2. Things such as the shellback gas tank of the Grunt, the mask of the Jackal, and the curved helmets of the Elites. Mynameislol also carried over other bits of visual flourish from the games both before and after Halo 2, like the Elite Zealot's spikier armor, the Jackal Sniper's eye scope, and the bright blue shield lights of the special ranks of Elite, including the Stealth ranks, Spec Ops, and Zealot. Another lost element from Halo 1 was AI panicking when stuck with a grenade, containing a slew of funny reactions. Turns out all those animations are still in Halo 2, but the AI impulse for panicking when stuck was removed. But with some pixie dust and trickery, I found a way to restore this lost feature. So now most characters from Grunts, Elites, and even Marines will once again flail about from being stuck.
I didn't sign on for this!
However, other characters such as the Elite Ultra will continue to berserk and rush you upon being stuck, so stay mindful. Moving into specific characters, let's start with the Grunt. The most important element of the Grunt's character is their behavior of fleeing once their elite squad leader has been killed, where they stop fighting back while cowering, rewarding the player for prioritizing and neutralizing the more difficult targets of an encounter early on. However, in Halo 2, this behavior triggers much less consistently, especially on higher difficulties where higher Grunt ranks flee much less often. While I do think the lowest rank should cower the most easily, important key mechanics such as this should be consistent and something the player can rely upon and play towards. So I've made each rank of Grunt flee much more consistently upon the death of their leader, closer to the frequency they do so in Halos 1 and 3. As covered in an earlier episode, we've made the Grunt's methane tanks destructible like future games, sending them flying about for that nice little dose of comic relief. Coming to Halo 2, Grunts received a new running animation, one which was much slower and clumsier compared to their movement in the first game. You wouldn't think it, but this change in speed has some pretty bad implications on gameplay in my onion. What it effectively results in is the Elites always outrunning and getting ahead of their Grunt underlings after spawning, when it's supposed to be the other way around, the Grunts pushing forward while the Elite takes more precise shots from behind.
They're in standard formation, little bastards up front, big ones in back.
Not to mention, this slow movement speed severely hinders the Grunt's viability as an ally when playing as the Arbiter, requiring a lot of micromanaging so they don't get left behind and waiting for them to hurry the frick up. So with that in mind, I think we're justified in reverting the Grunt's run animation back to that of the first games, so the character can function much closer to what's intended. A much easier time consistently getting to where they're meant to be on the battlefield, and keeping up much more reliably as allies. Halo 2 introduced a new grunt rank in the Heavy, often seen deploying plasma cannons or manning plasma turrets. Although their application throughout the campaign was pretty inconsistent, as just as often you'd see standard grunt ranks manning these turrets, so I've gone through and cleaned all that up so heavies appear where you'd expect them to. Additionally, vehicle encounters now make much more use of grunt heavies piloting the various ghosts you're faced with, giving more room for a higher number of ghost spawns and a larger scale to these encounters, without making things overly difficult and having so many elites spawned in. Halo 2 created a new rank of elite in the Ranger, foes who could hover through the air and easily break your cover. In a very rare twist, I actually took some inspiration from Halo 4 of all games, which introduced a unique type of grunt similar to that of the Ranger, one who can hop about in low gravity environments using what the game affectionately refers to as the fart pack. So that inspired the idea to come up with a brand new grunt Ranger to go along with the elite counterpart, the design of which was created by team member Paddy. These fellas sport a similar fart pack that allows them to hop all around the environment and swarm you like the little goblins they are, allowing for Ranger encounters to be much more diverse than just having the single enemy type. Many are fond and familiar with the special operations units seen in Halo 1, made up of grunts and elites. The inclusion of this faction was a result of the mission designers requesting new types of Covenant characters for the late game to ensure the game stayed fresh. And I think that was a great call, as the Spec Ops Covenant really contributed to that feeling of Halo 1 upping the ante all the way up to its final missions, sporting higher health, aggressive firing, heavy weapons, and insane grenade-happy shenanigans. So coming into Halo 2, I find it interesting how the role of the Spec Ops characters changed. They were repurposed from a late-game bad guy to sort of your designated Covenant allies when playing as the Arbiter, likely as a method of avoiding having your allies look just like the ones you were fighting in the mission prior, at least for the first few Arbiter missions. So with that role in mind, what kinds of tweaks and additions can we make to the Spec Ops grunts? Well, one particular grievance of the vanilla game is how short their average lifespan is, especially considering the heretic elites featured on the gas giant missions, who almost exclusively carry headshot-capable carbines, often leading to the grunts being one-shotted before being able to do much of anything. So what if we adjusted the design of the Spec Ops grunts to account for this? I drew up some concept art for a possible helmet the grunts could wear, and then Luna built a model for it in-game, giving these characters a meaner, more tactical look. With this addition to their getup, they're now significantly more resistant to getting insta-killed. I'm a big fan of the Spec Ops faction's tactical and highly skilled nature in general. The Spec Ops grunts are basically the Navy SEALs of grunts, so let's play into that some more, giving them much more aggressive and competent firing patterns, making them much braver than your average grunt in never fleeing, and best of all, the ability to melee foes, even if they're twice their height. As mentioned, the Spec Ops' defining gameplay feature is their propensity for lobbing grenades. This remains true for Halo 2, there's just one tiny issue. Your ally Spec Ops give zero fucks for how close you're standing to an enemy when choosing whether to throw a grenade. And this is especially problematic for Arbiter's first two missions, where the game really wants you to use the sword and get in close with your foes. Halo 2's gameplay engine literally has a field for AI to check how close an ally is to a potential grenade target before deciding to throw, so all we have to do is give them the suitable values for this and voila! No more death by ally grenades. Mostly. That brings us to the Jackals, the defensive walls of the Covenant. In Halo 2, they have a bad habit of casually standing upright while firing, leaving themselves as sitting ducks, so I changed it so they'll always crouch behind their shields to fire. The Sniper Jackal of vanilla needs no introduction by this point, its one-shotting nature being the bane of every legendary player, thanks to various changes such as rebalancing the player's vitality and changes to the damage multipliers applied to the difficulty and enemies. The Sniper Jackal now functions as a 3-shot kill, giving you the chance to dive into cover or quickly react and take it out before sustaining health damage. Along with that, H2R now allows the Jackals to use the carbine, like future games, giving much more flexibility in the ways this enemy type can be used. For a funny new addition purely for the Arbiter missions, the Jackals can now speak English.
There he is!
This is a donation from Halo modder Sergeant Stacker. It opens up new possibilities for funny AI scenes involving Jackals. I figured it'd be a neat little detail to have when playing as the Arbiter. Apparently, he's fluent in Kigyarese.
Disgusting heretics!
Now we come to the titular elites, the keystone foe of the Halo games, essentially representing the player's equal in terms of attributes and capabilities. They made their mark in Halo 1 thanks to their quick-footed movement and precise aim, being smart in how quick they are to self-preserve, while also being aggressive as hell in pushing your position or charging when cornered. Come Halo 2, the elites would become playable in both single and multiplayer, bringing about many more considerations for how they should be designed. Their movement animations were changed to be equal in speed to the player's Spartan, and just as the player's health was drastically decreased decreased compared to the first game, the Elite AI-2 saw a huge cut to their total vitality to match, falling to a scant few SMG shots once their shields dropped. This, in combination with some nerfs to the consistency and speed of their decision making in the heat of the moment, resulted in foes that, while still fun and effective in their role as squad leaders and the player's equal, don't demand nearly the level of respect they did in the first game. Well, now that the player's vitality has been buffed back up and the difficulty balancing has been retuned from the ground up, we can give the elites back their shield and health strength much closer to that of Halo 1. While we're at it, let's improve their behaviors to more competently self-preserve, taking cover once sustaining enough damage or facing an overwhelming foe, and allow them to aggressively strafe once more, so they feel just as tenacious as they did in the first game. Halo 2's elites are also infamous for having a bizarre one-hit kill melee, even on a difficulty as low as normal. So yeah, let's fix that by retuning the damage to something much more reasonable. The Elite's melee in this game is pretty broken in general, as Bungie forgot to disable their melee from being able to damage allies, which includes you, resulting in many not-so-friendly beatdowns when playing as the Arbiter, and when wielding a rifle weapon, their melee just doesn't do any damage full stop. Thankfully, both of these things are easy fixes, so in H2R, no more death by ally fists, and no more carbine shadowboxing. The Spec Ops Elites suffered a big downgrade in vitality and competency compared to Halo 1, sharing all the same attributes as the Elite Major, just with the ability to throw grenades. So to bring them back up to their stature of the first game, and because of how easily they die in the Arbiter missions anyway, let's rebuff their health, shields, and shield recharge speed to demand much more respect from you and the enemy. As with CER, my Halo 1 mod, let's also give them their own faster melee animation to further demonstrate their combat prowess compared to the standard Elite. Despite the Spec Ops being used to visually distinguish Covenant allies from enemies, the Elite's armor color was weirdly changed to be a dark blue, at times making them look nearly identical to the blue Elite Miners. So let's change their armor color back to that classic jet black, so they can retain their unique and sleek look from the first game. The Spec Ops in H2R have also seen a few new permutations inspired by armor pieces featured in Halo 3. The Spec Ops commander himself now even sporting his own unique armor makeup. The Elite Zealot similarly suffered a disappointing downgrade from the first game, stat-wise being identical to the Elite Major, but even worse since Zealots in Halo 2 are literally incapable of using vehicles, simply refusing to ride with you. So yeah, that sucks, especially for how rarely they appear in Halo 2. So let's buff the Zealot's vitality way back up so it actually has the room needed to close the distance with you. Allow them to leap high in the air to reach your position, just like the first game. Help them to overcome their fear of riding in vehicles, and just like CER, let's give them the ability to quickly throw plasma grenades, keeping you on your toes even when facing one from a distance. Halo 2 also introduced a brand new type of elite in the Honor Guard, often found patrolling places valuable to the Covenant religion and acting as guard to the Prophets. But as is the running theme in Halo 2, they're identical to the Elite Major in every way other than how they look. So let's expand upon their potential to make them stand out a bit more. With the help of Mynameislol tweaking the model regions, let's take their helmet and make it resist headshots, requiring you to shoot it off before taking the killing blow. We've made the Energy Stave a fully featured and usable weapon in this mod, so naturally that gives the Honor Guard a unique weapon to call their own, less lethal than the Energy Sword but with a wider, longer reach. The Honor Guards will also sport the ability to quickly lob grenades, similar to the Zealot. In my Halo 1 mod, I created a special type of elite called the Elite Vanguard, inspired by the shield-wielding leader seen in the E3 2000 demo. So let's adapt that idea back into Halo 2, allowing some Honor Guards to wield that same diamond-shaped shield, model courtesy of Luna. They often first appear using a ranged weapon, but venture too close or when left the last man standing, they'll withdraw an energy sword and rush you shield first. There's a goof in one of Halo 2's cutscenes where some of the Honor Guards seen lack any biped coloration to their armor. This inspired an idea in me to introduce a higher rank of Honor Guard, what I call the Honor Guard Ultra. Coming in white with red strips, having stronger vitality, being highly skilled and tenacious compared to the standard rank, throwing grenades farther and even faster. The Hunters in Halo 2 saw some notable changes coming off of Halo 1. They were given many more variations in melee animations, making what has lovingly been coined as the Hunter Dance much less one note. Their Fuel Rod Volley was changed to a continuous beam, their armor now fully absorbed damage from small arms, their flesh being considered one-shot headshotable was obviously changed, while the damage their flesh could sustain in general was drastically decreased. Despite the Hunter's gameplay design arguably being much better realized this time around, they appear much less frequently compared to the first game, which is a shame considering the new combat dynamics they present and being combined with other AI, and how they're a lot more dynamic to fight this time around. So I took it upon myself to sprinkle in a lot more representation for them throughout the game, especially where vehicles are involved, where previously there were never any hunters present in Halo 2's vehicle sections. In CER, I removed the pistol's ability to one-shot hunters, instead shifting the role of the hunter's check to the needler, which I found to be the most satisfying small arm to employ against them, rewarding focused fire and building up super combines to their fleshy backs. So I've carried that same balancing touch forward to H2R, being especially effective and destructive when dual-wielding. In the process, you'll likely notice that, with help from Mynameislol, we've also made the hunter's back armor destructible just as in the future games, giving you a better shot at their weak point if you manage to break it off. And now I introduce to you the Halo 2 engineer. Perhaps one of the things I'm most proud of in this project. Nearly everyone on the H2R dev team chipped in to create this blobby boy almost entirely from scratch. Seeing as how I restored and expanded upon Halo 1's cut engineer in CER, there's no way we could pass up the opportunity to carry it into Halo 2 as well, where it also happened to be a planned enemy very early on in development. H2R concept artist iamfozziebear drafted lots of art for what a Halo 2 engineer should look like. What we settled on was a hybrid design between that of Halo 1's engineer and Halo 3 ODSTs. Once the design was nailed down, Luna got to work building the model. Luna and Paddy both then collaborated in creating textures for it. With the character built and rigged, our animator Echo482 created all of its animations, even involving brand new behaviors the engineer has never seen before in the series, such as fleeing when frightened or panicking when stuck or self-destructing. The biggest challenge of bringing this fella into Halo 2 was figuring out how to make the engineer's mechanics function within the limitations of Halo 2's gameplay engine. So, GoldAthena and I mashed our brains together to tirelessly build a design framework for the engineer to operate under, one that would take full advantage of Halo 2's scripting and gameplay engine to achieve the desired effect. The challenge on top of that being deciding what role it should even play in encounters. I knew I wanted it to have more mechanical complexity compared to CER, and having its overshield functionality present as in future games, but in what form remained to be seen. I've always appreciated the engineer in ODST and Reach as a creative and unique piece of the Covenant roster, a new, non-combatant character, yet still remains as a relevant target in encounters. But I couldn't help but wonder if its gameplay functionality could have been more innately enjoyable to play against. In both games, whenever there's an engineer active on the field, it distributes regenerating overshields to all nearby allies, essentially forcing the player to drop everything to find the engineer and neutralize it before engaging any of the enemies. Failing to do so, you're not going to have a fun time. The engineer in practice serves as a sort of wall you need to remove before you can properly engage with the encounter, rather than something that actually adds new dynamics to gameplay. We started brainstorming ways we could tweak its functionality to give it a more three-dimensional role in gameplay. In wanting to keep the overshielding feature, the first thing I thought of was to make it so the overshields given to all of its allies are only a one-time buff that don't recharge. In practice, this would turn the engineer's main gimmick of buffing allies from something which continuously resets any progress you've made in damaging enemies to a flat extra layer added to the challenge, where the encounter will continue to respect the damage you deal and more wiggle room in deciding when to focus on the engineer. Making the engineer less overbearing on an encounter also frees up more room to make it harder to kill, in this case, in the form of more interesting self-preservation behaviors. As mentioned, the engineer will flee in terror if you get too close or you drop its own energy shields. So you'll either have to find the optimal weapons to kill it quickly, or chase it down. In a sort of ripple effect, making it harder to kill, in turn, justifies making killing it to yield a much greater reward. If you played CER, you're well aware that I primarily treated the engineer as a moving explosive stage hazard of sorts, where timing it right will result in it blowing nearby squads of Covenant to smithereens, inspired by the bombs it would emit upon death in ODST. Naturally, that same gameplay feature has been maintained in H2R. But now that it has the overshield gimmick from future games, that inspired another idea. Upon killing the engineer, along with dropping the overshields given to its allies, what if every actor who had an overshield received an EMP jolt, depleting the shields of elites and jackals and leaving lower level foes like grunts and jackals momentarily stunned? So not only would killing the engineer nullify that extra layer of vitality, but also create an opportunity for the player to turn the tables and take advantage of the enemies being left in a vulnerable state, creating new elements of decision making for how you approach an engineer-centric encounter. Additionally, H2R's engineer comes in two ranks, the standard squishy boy and the up-armored engineer heavy, taking after its getup in ODST and Reach, including a helmet you must shoot off in order to headshot. The standard engineers distribute shields among large squads of enemies, using Reach's purple-style shields, while the heavy is much bulkier and will give much stronger shields amongst only a select few, facilitating more mini-boss style encounters, using ODST's green-colored shields. And just like in ODST, if you declare the Cubby squads without killing the engineer, the explosives planted inside it will trigger a self-destruct sequence, a barbaric measure in place to prevent its capture by the humans. With all these new elements to its gameplay design, I hope the engineer can now create many more dynamics to combat encounters, placing emphasis and importance on how the player chooses to deal with it. As I continue on to work on the back half of Halo 2, I can't wait to see what other kinds of creative applications there will be for our engineer. Halo games live or die on that quintessential roster of Covenant bad guys, setting the tone for how the AI dynamics can create diverse encounters and a fun, enjoyable gameplay loop. So nailing how the Covenant plays and further expanding on their potential is vital for informing how the entire rest of the AI cast should be designed and tuned. So next time, we'll flip the script and go into everything involving Halo 2's Marines, both as allies and enemies? Oh boy. Head over to my Patreon for early access on new videos and stay tuned. I'll see you then. Peace.